All right, so this is the tutorial series to make a character in Le Mudbox. Okay, so here we go. All right, so it should already be set, but obviously you want to make sure that the settings, your hotkeys are set to Maya. If for some reason it's weird and your settings are different from mine, what you can do is if you just go to Windows, go to Hotkeys, and also if you want to change any, you can change them here. Just make sure they're on Maya. There's other ones here you can see, which is nice that they have that kind of pre-done for you. So if you're going from one program to another, it makes a lot of sense because you got to think when you're going into something like Mudbox, right? You're not doing everything in there. You're going to go from there and then you're going to go into something else, or you're going to go from something else into this. So it makes sense to not have to make you completely change your whole system, which, ZBrush does. Obviously, I know a lot of you guys have been struggling with that. Anyhow, make sure that's Maya so that all the things are the same. That way it's, it's Alt, left, middle, and right mouse button. So it's the same configuration that you're currently used to. That being said, we have a couple different options about how we can go and make our character. Okay. So the first option that you could do, which is what we did in class, is that you could just do File, and then you would do Open. And then you would export out of your Maya file a low res model, whatever it is, right? So let me see, Maya to Mudbox. So I have this over here. I open it up, and this was the model I made in Maya. My low, well, it's not really that low, but it's my, a medium res model. I had modeled in Maya. So you just inside of Maya, you just got to make sure that the ability to import and export OBJs is on. Just go to Settings, Windows, Settings Preferences, Plugin Manager, and then look for OBJ Export. Just make sure that's checked on. So you would model whatever you want for a base shape. I would just don't spend a lot of time on it. Just do a really basic kind of model. Then when you're happy with it, you can then export it as an OBJ, and then you can import it as an OBJ. So that's one way of doing it. So that's how we did it in class. You make something. I'm not going to cover how to make it in Maya. You should know how to do that at this point. And then you bring it in here. The other option is you could do File New, which you're going to see is the same as when you first open it up. They have these different options here, okay? You can see them. Woo! So let's say you're doing a human. You could select this human, and then you're starting out with this human model, which obviously is pretty nice. I'm not always a big fan of doing this just because it's not mine, but under the circumstances and what have you, if you want to do that, I don't have a problem with that either. Or if you have another model that you want to bring in, however you want to go about doing it. They actually, I believe there's a way to get more from the community that you might be able to find as well. So that's the second option, okay? Now the third option is to do this. File, New Scene, don't save, is to start with, we'll say a sphere, okay? And then you'll be like, oh no, look at this sphere. Now, this next option you can do on those other ones as well. But this option would be to do this. So I would, if you remember Sculptress, it does that dynamic tessellation, right? Dynamesh. So what we can do is I could go to, let's say, the grab tool here, okay? Then, if you go underneath, you'll see this new, well, it's not that new. I think it's new as of 2018, so it's a couple years old, thing called Tessellation. If you open this up, this is off by default. What you want to do is turn that on, okay? Now, what that's going to do, you might have to adjust this divide threshold. It basically is going to allow this to become a Dynamesh. Now, you're going to notice when you first click on it, it's going to say, no, because it's not tessellated. It's all quads, right? So I'm going to hit page down to make sure I'm on the lowest level. Now, as soon as I click, it's going to go, no. It's going to ask to do it. I'm going to hit cancel. You could say okay, and then you can start doing it. It's fine. But the other way to do it is just go up to here, mesh, and then generate tessellation mesh, and it's literally just going to turn to triangles. And now you can see when I click on it, it doesn't get upset, okay? So from there, I can then take this and I can, model it, right? I hit W so I don't see the wireframe, and so on and so forth. Now, what you might want to do in particular with this grab is that you'll see there is a follow path, which this will make it like snake hook, which is like the move in other ones. You'll see basically when I draw it, it's going to pull it, but then it's going to keep drawing it out. Like so. Right? You can see how like it doesn't just pull it linearly, it kind of pulls it into the path of which you grab it. But just so you're aware that obviously it is creating a tessellated model, okay? So you could start off with something like this and make a model that way. I am going to do something more in the middle. I'm going to grab the one dude, new scene. But if you want to do like a creature, like something off the wall, you could probably start with that. Let's say you want to do a dinosaur or something, maybe start with a reptile. I'm just going to go ahead and start with the dude. I just like to do the humans, not because I want to sculpt. I'd rather sculpt the creature, but this way it's a little bit more, you know, to which we compare all things as ourselves, right? So that's basically, I'm going to start with this guy, okay? So I'm just going to hit page down, page down. So if you remember, page up and page down is how we move up and down levels. And then what I'm going to do is go to mesh, and I'm just going to go ahead and generate a tessellation mesh. Woo! Okay. And there she be. Okay. So that is a thing. Okay. So now it's good. So let's say we're starting from scratch and we're doing what have you. What I'm going to do is I just want to make general adjustments with this guy. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with him. I'm going to make him a giraffe man. I don't know. We'll just go with that, okay? So I'm just going to go ahead and go with grab. And then over here, you can see, I'm just going to make sure tessellation's on during stroke. And the default settings should work. But if for some reason you're finding that it's not making enough, you can change that number. Notice how it's not creating as much geometry. If I lower this number, come on. And it's going to probably crash. It's going to make a whole lot of geometry. See how much geometry it made? So this is basically kind of like the density of what's being created. So 50 looks fine. Okay, so just be aware that you might need to adjust this. All right, so I just want to do some general adjustments to this guy. I don't know, make him look like Slender Man or something, right? So I just want to pull him and warp him and do the things that I want to do because, okay, so we're going to go with that. I'm going to go ahead and I am going to concentrate on his arms. So let's say I just want to do cool arms. I want to be like a whatever guy, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to readjust the positioning of these because there are certain ones that I use a lot. So smooth I'm going to use by holding shift. So I actually don't need that. So I'm going to hold middle mouse button, just drag it over here. Not very useful. Relax actually I kind of do like. One that I like a lot is this freeze. So I'm going to hold middle mouse button and drag, okay, I'm going to drag it over. And then where are you? Middle mouse button, drag it. I'm going to make that my number 2 because I use that quite a bit. And then I'm also going to use bulge. Bring that over. And where'd you go, bulge? There you go. Bring, we'll put that behind there. Let's put this guy here. I'm trying to organize it by what I use the most and least. That's the idea here. You might find that you use some more than others. I think those are the main ones I use. Yeah, we're not going to worry about that. Okay, so the reason why I even care about moving these is that if I hit 1, that does 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so you kind of have these basically the numbers are allotted to each one of those slots. So whatever you put in there, that's what's going to be. And that way I can just do, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, Anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and do 4. And so again, move, rotate, right, all that business. One of the things I want to do, also W is wireframe, which you're probably going to want to use for some of this part here because we're going to be doing the tessellation. You just want to make sure it's not too nuts. And then B and M, those are the 2 main hotkeys you need to know. So if I hold B and click and drag, that's the brush size. All right, and then M is brush strength. So this is free, so I just want 100%. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go B, and I'm just going to go ahead and freeze, and I'm going to undo that because I want to make sure, okay, I do. Make sure over here you have mirror X on. It's probably on off. You want to go X and make sure it's doing on both sides. I didn't know if I did that yet, but I apparently had, so that's good. I just want to freeze everything but his arms so I don't accidentally grab anything else. So basically, this is the same thing as masking inside of ZBrush, okay? That's what you can equate it to. Just want to make sure none of this other stuff gets all up in there. All right, so now what I'm going to do, I don't think I have to worry about that because I don't think my brush is going to be, well, just to make sure. Like that, okay. Great. Now he looks like he's wearing a wrestling suit or something. Okay, now I'm going to go to grab, and we're going to go B, and I'm going to go ahead, and I am just going to grab, ooh, see how low that went? So let's do this a little bit more dense. I'm going to give him like nice fur hands anyway. I'm just going to make him kind of creepy looking is what I was thinking. And I'm actually going to turn off follow path for a second because what I want to do is actually have more of like a bend situation. Yeah, there we go. That's super creepy and gross. Okay. Let's say also, I'm just going to go ahead. Now I want to erase all of my freezing. So if you hover over these, they will tell you what the hotkeys are. If there are any hotkeys for it. And if you hover over this, you'll see it'll say Shift U to unfreeze everything. So I'm just going to hit Shift U, and then we have it unfrozen. I'm also going to, just because I want to, I'm going to go ahead and do follow path again. I'm going to go ahead and just give him like, I don't know, like a thing coming out of his back here, just because. Okay, just to get the idea. All right, that looks, and I'm just going to hold Shift to smooth it. All right. Now I'd like these to be bent over and around. So I'm going to do, I'm going to go to my pose tools, and we didn't use this before, but I'm going to create joint, and I'm just going to click and drag, and I don't like that because it got into there. So let's hold Control and click on it to make an X. So I'm going to click and drag like this. Then I'm going to click and drag like that. And we'll call that good. Then I'm going to go to my pose tool. And I'm just going to click and pull this over. And go to my first joint. Alright, I'm just going to go ahead and delete that one. So let's try this again. Click and drag. Alright, and let's... Ah, crap. I'm going to undo that. I didn't have mirroring on. See, you got to have mirroring on. Alright, pose. Let's Control click. Alright, and... okay, hang on a second. Sometimes it does that. Let's go to pose, click back on here. Surface, interior, one joint at a time, and let's do X. Okay. So let's try that again. Click and drag, and then click and drag. Okay. And now what I'm going to do is choose the pose, and I'm going to pull this up. Thought I was grabbing this one. There we go. Pose this up. Apparently it's not doing it symmetrically, so that's disappointing. And then we'll grab this. Oops. Grab that one, pull that up. Grab this one, pull that up. Yay. And then to get rid of them, I'm just going to go here, select the skeleton, and hit delete. Might have to expand it. Oops. Delete, delete. Okay, good. So now those are gone. And now we've got these weird looking things. So that might be useful to you. I don't know. Honestly, don't really use these pose tools. I don't find them super handy, but I thought I would show you them anyway. All right. So that's the start. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just work on his torso on this one because I did the face in the other one. So I'm just going to grab my sculpt tool. Again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to the settings here. I'm going to turn tessellation on. And let's just go kind of in the middle to start with. Let's say 44. Where's my... Here it is. And I'm just going to sculpt in here, right? So it's all the same hotkeys, alt, middle, left, right, whatever, mouse buttons. And then it's just B and M, okay? There we go. So B and M is for strength, and then we have these fall off. So this is kind of the middle of the road one. I'm just going to go ahead and use that and make sure that I do indeed have symmetry on. Okay. So I'm just going to kind of go like that, and this looks fine, so I'm going to hit W because I don't really want that wireframe anymore. I'm going to hold Shift to smooth. All right, and then we'll just give them a little bit more in here. I'm going to give them, oops, some more lats here. All right, so it's a little bit stronger. I'm going to smooth that out. It's only Shift to smooth. All right, and I'm going to give them a little, oops, thing I get used to using. So B to go small, and I'm going to do sharp this time. And I'm going to take my, well, actually probably okay this way. I'm going to hold Control. Control goes in for sculpting, okay? So I'm just going to do general adjustments here. Let's go B big again. All right, and I'm just going to kind of sculpt. That's fine. Let's hit W. I'm just trying to generally make some adjustments, right? So I'm going to give them some sternocleidomastoid crossed here. It's going to hold shift to smooth. And I'm going to cut in a little bit by holding control to do the pit of the neck. Hold shift to smooth. Good. And then we're going to give him a little bit more of a trapezius, which is the back here. Okay, go like this. Going to hold shift to smooth. All right, and we'll give him, keep doing that, sorry. I'm going to give him a little bit of a clavicle here. All right, like so. And like that. And let's give him, we'll do a little bit of arm here. So I'm going to give him a little more deltoid right here. Okay. And then from there, he would have very long biceps. So for big, long areas like this, actually bulge is better. But you have to make sure that you're going to have to turn tessellation on for each and every one. And then afterwards, you're going to have to go through and turn them off for each and every one when you aren't doing that anymore. So I'm just going to hold, go ahead and bulge it, but then hit smooth. Oof, I got it too strong, apparently. I need to make it that strong. Okay. So that looks okay. So now what I'm going to do is add a little bit more detail. So I'm going to go back to sculpt, but I'm going to up my divide threshold a little bit. Let's say like 80-ish, okay? And then I'm going to use this to cut in. So I'm doing this because this is very sharp. B, come on. Give me my B. There it is. Okay. All right. And then I'm just going to hold control. And let's hit W. So let me see. Divide threshold. Oh, gotta go the other way. Sorry. I went low, not high. Okay. Is this right? Yeah, that's right. Okay, good. Okay, so let's hit W back, and I gotta do M for strength down. It's doing the other thing. I want to do strength down this way. Okay, let's just do 1. There we go. Okay, so I'm just gonna hold control, and it's gonna be way too strong. Let's see. Let's do this up a little bit. And there he goes. Okay. A little bit lower, and then B, a lot smaller. Okay. Let's just double check to make sure that's doing what I want. Let's go back down. Oh, here we go. Tessellation, make it a bit smaller. Let's make it even smaller. Oh, not 0. That would be no good. There we go. Okay. So I need to go low enough where I can get enough details, basically the idea here. So I'm just going to kind of cut in. And right now what I'm doing is I have the sharp and I'm holding control so it cuts in as opposed to out. And basically I'm just trying to further define some of these details on my guy. Right? So I'm just holding control and kind of cutting across to try and get it. And then sometimes I'm smoothing when it needs to be. I'll smooth this down a little bit. Control. Like that kind of a thing. And then we're going to hold control here and cut in for his costal arch. Like so. Alright, give him a linea alba. That's the line that keeps that I messed up there. Messed up a couple times. Okay. I should go right down the center. There we go. And we'll cut this across to give him some abs. My dude's been doing his sit-ups every day, apparently. And then cut this in for the serratus anterior. Okay. Alright, so it doesn't have much for obliques, but that's okay. I'll just like that, right? So you can see he's got kind of a look there. We kind of sculpt him in a little bit. So you go like that, right? And you might have to play around with it. Now, if for some reason, let's say you do this. Let's say I go through and I go really, really dense, and I go like this. So what you're going to see is it's going to make this really dense area, and you might try to smooth it out, and it might not smooth out real well. What you can do is if you go over here, you'll see refine and reduce. Basically what these will do is that with the tessellation, you can actually reduce what's there with the reduce, or make it more dense with these two here. And that makes it much easier to, if you're trying to get like a flatter area, or you need more geometry, you can superficially add or remove. This will also overall add to the whole guy, I believe, right? Or yeah, you got to adjust it down here. But that's what those are for. So you might find those useful if for some reason you're getting like a weird hiccup or a crunchy piece. You can fix it that way. Okay. But you can see this, as much as this has Dynamesh and stuff, you see it's not quite as intuitive as doing it in, like, let's say ZBrush or Sculptress or one of those other programs. I find it a little bit cumbersome. I like that they have it in here, but it's not as well. They try to give you a lot of options, but in fact, I think it's actually making it more complicated. Okay. So really, it's kind of like ZBrush and other ones where the two main tools you really need are Sculpt and Grab. And then we just have to turn on the Tessellation down here. And that will allow us to do the various things that we need to do there. So once we have a base mesh that looks, let's say, acceptable, I'm not sure how much time I'm at here. 20. Okay. I think we can do the next part. So once you have a base mesh, I'm not going to do the whole guy. I'm just, like I said, I'm just going to concentrate just on his chest here because I feel like that would be easier for right now. I just don't have the time to do the rest of it. So let's go back to layers. Okay. So let's say you just sculpted it all out and you did a real rough, just try to get the whole thing kind of where you want it. What we need to do before we can actually start subdividing it and things like that, because this geometry is no good and we need to have a good base geometry, is that you can do a couple of things. It depends how you want to do it, but if this is low poly enough, and this right now is low poly enough, I would take this and just export out this model. So you can just go like here, you select the model, this one here, and then you just do file, I think it's that one. Is it this one? Oh, sorry, this one here. And then do file, export selection, and then you export as an OBJ, bring it into Maya, and then do the quad draw and manually retopologize it. Really time consuming. I'm not assuming you're going to do that. If you accidentally select something, any of these items in here, so this is the object list, just hold Control and click. That'll unselect, just so you know. Anyway, but I would export it in there, do the quad draw, make the topology out good, then import it, and then start sculpting from there. Personally, that's how I would normally do it, but it's time consuming. So for now, I'm going to show you how to just do the retopology. But if you want to do it the other way, good for you. You know, it would benefit your model, but I'm just going to show you how to do it the other way. So to do the retopology, we need to do a couple of things. So you can go to Mesh, and you'll see Retopologize, New Operation. And then you can give it a name, and then it will save it. If you remember, like whenever you do an operation, Mudbox will actually save it, and then you can keep, if you need to run it multiple times, it's there, right? But one of the things we can do is that right now it has this target base count. Okay, again, this is kind of suggestion, but I think it actually holds a little bit closer than ZBrush does. But you can see the results of the retopology inside of Mudbox is actually inferior to ZRemesher inside of ZBrush. ZBrush has the best one. But it has these constraints. So right now, it's just going to look at the topology, and it's going to generally do it, but it might not be exactly the way you want. So what you can do is that we were doing sculpt tools. If you go to the curve tools, you'll see create curve. What you want to do for anything that you want to force it to be like, I want that curve, I want the edges to follow that line, you can use this create curve. That's not what it's only for, but you can use it in combination with this. The curves can do other things as well. So I'm just doing his chest, so I'm just going to try and push. We'll see how close it does. But basically, you draw the curves. So I'll go like that. And then maybe I would say, oh, I also want it to follow this hostile arch. Right? And then let's say I want there to be a belly button. I don't know why. I just do. Okay? And then let's say I want it to go from here to here. And then you're definitely going to want to do this. Mostly on the face is really where you're going to care. I want to have circles go around my eyes. Hopefully you do a better job. Alright, so go like this. Oof, not very good. And obviously we need to go around the mouth as well. And around mouth. Okay. So imagine I did a good job. Alright, now here's the thing that's kind of tricky. Once you get this done, and you can do this before you open this up, what you can do is you can choose whether they're hard or soft. And basically the idea is that if it's a soft constraint, what it will do is that it'll use it as suggestion, but it won't be like super adhered to. Hard will be adhered to. That's the difference between the two. But to change them to soft and hard, what you do is you hover over one of them and you right click, and then you can do make all hard or make all soft. I'm going to start with make all soft, which is going to turn them all orange. Now that menu, by the way, doesn't pop up unless you have this open. I found that out the hard way. So you got to make sure this is open. You can draw the curves, but that menu won't pop up unless this is up. Now, I do need some to be hard. So like these ones here, they're soft. They don't really matter. I do need my mouth and my eyes to be hard because I need those to adhere to it. So I'm going to right click over top of this one and do hard constraint. I'm going to right click over top of this one, hard constraint, right click, hard constraint, right click, hard constraint, oops, right click, hard constraint. I don't know why it's not doing it mirrored, but I guess we got to do it manually. Yeah. Hard constraint and hard constraint. Okay. So now we got all those, and that makes me feel warm and fuzzy. That's great. Okay. So we're going to call that good as far as the curves. You can do this without the curves. It's just the curves will give you better topology, theoretically. We'll see how well it does. Okay. So then they have these options in here. So the target base, let's just do 5,000. I think that just makes more sense. 3,000 I think is not going to be enough. Now what's cool is it will actually transfer the sculpted detail onto the model, so it could add a subdivision level and then on that actually have that into it, which is pretty neat. We don't really need any of this stuff. I do want symmetry based on axis, and we're doing left to right, which I'm assuming usually they mean the characters. And that looks good. Now, this is one of those things where it could potentially crash. So what I'm going to do, what you should do is save this first. Let's see. Can I save this real quick? Save scene as. I'm just going to save it right to my desktop. So we'll just say mud toot guy. All right, so you should save it. Once you save it, you're going to go ahead and hit retopologize. Now, it might take a while. For mine, it almost seemed like it was crashing last time I did this, but my character was quite a bit higher poly than this, so we'll see how it does. I'm going to pause. You see it's at 4% and it's not moving. I'm going to pause this, and then when it's done, I'll show you the results. But just be aware, what is going on with the dude's eye? Just be aware that it could, you know, cause some sort of, it may crash on you. That's why you want to save it. And if it does, then try to change some of the settings, maybe lower them a bit, and then maybe remove the curves. Try different things to try and see if you can get it to run. Hopefully it should run. Worst comes to worst, what you could literally do is take this guy, export him out as an OBJ, import him into ZBrush, and then just do geometry, Z-remesher, and Z-remesh them in there. If for some reason you run into an issue like that, let me know and I'll do my best to help you. All right, I'm going to pause it and we'll see you on the other side. All right, so if you look at my model, see how it does not have the curves on there, and there's a reason for that. So basically, let me turn this off. Let me see something. Turn this one off. Make sure, okay. Yeah, so make sure you have the last one here. So the reason why it doesn't have those is because when I went to run it, it actually crashed on me. So what I did is I went through and I just deleted all of the curves. So if yours does crash on you and it's not accepting the curves, I'll just show you how I did it. And it crashes, open up that save that we made. That's why we save things. You'll see the curves. If you go to the object list over here, you'll see the curves. Just select them and just hit delete. And then go ahead and do the mesh retopologize, and it should hopefully work. Mine apparently was not happy with the curves. So anyway, a little disappointing because I would have liked this to be a little bit better. But like I said, I'm not a huge fan of the retopology in this program. I normally do it manually, but this was particularly not that great. Okay, if I do go page down, you can see this is actually what it made for us. And we go page up. It made multiple levels, and then actually put the sculpt data into it, which is pretty cool. So even though it's technically it made geometry that was lower than even what we had, it actually takes any of the sculpting information and actually bakes it into the new topology, so you don't actually lose that much of your sculpting information, which is super awesome. That is actually one of the nice things that it does. Besides crashing, that's also cool. Okay, so I'm going to call this video good. So now we have a base mesh, and from here we can sculpt our details onto it, and then go through and texture and all that other stuff. Okay, so bear with me.